Hey, what's going on, webheads? Roundaway here. If you're even at least a little bit familiar with the SMT series, you're aware how often they reuse demons, whether it be demon designs or just demons themselves. Completely different designs. And it makes sense with over 96 games and a shit ton of spin-offs, anime, novels, and whatever else. Using a bunch of different religions from around the world, it makes sense that you're going to want to reuse some of the same ones, especially when, for lack of a better word, some of them are just iconic. There are also equally as many that just never see the light of day again or have like very few appearances. Like I said, this persists throughout every SMT game, and interestingly enough, Persona is the one I want to look at. I feel like there's a lot of interesting cases with Persona. Unlike most SMT games where you have a main character or other party members as well as demons, your party members and personas are, intrinsically tied to each other. At least initially, swap out different personas. So obviously you can use other personas that are demons from other SMT games. That much isn't new. But what I want to look at is when party member personas started out as just demons, vice versa in the Persona series itself, meaning that a persona was both your party member's persona and actually usable by the protagonist of another game, usually with a different design or just in general. And believe it or not, with Persona, this has happened more than you would think, where one party member's persona is actually a persona that was just like a generic one in a previous game. I feel like the more you look into it, the deeper the rabbit hole gets, and it's weirder and weirder and more interesting. So that's what I want to take a look at. And now, obviously, I just want to get it out of the way. No party member Persona DLCs. Obviously, in a lot of the later Persona games, they sell DLC of previous Personas used by main characters or like antagonist or whatever. We're not looking at that because obviously that's way too easy. We're going to be looking at Personas that have a different appearance and are also have been playable in different games, if you get what I mean. I know this sounds confusing, but it'll make more sense once we go along. Also, slightly be going into spin-offs when it's necessary, but we're not going to be focusing on them. Just if something like this happens to occur in a spin-off, I'll take a note of it, or if they've appeared in an SMT game, I might make a note of it if it's like interesting. We're gonna quickly go over a classic Persona, being Persona 1 and both Persona 2s, because they're not that interesting when it comes to this topic. Usually their initial persona, like your first party members' personas, don't have many other appearances, and they really seemed like back in the day, they were really trying to focus on having these personas be more of like a standout thing. Like where it's this person has this unique persona that's not from any other game even. Like even other SMT games, some of these personas don't even appear in different incarnations like I mentioned earlier. So there's not really much to go off of. There are a few I found kind of meet this, but I'll just go over them quick. So for the record, I'm definitely going to pronounce a lot of names wrong. And also my knowledge of Persona 1 and 2 aren't the greatest since I haven't beaten them. They're the only like Persona games I haven't beaten. If I get something wrong, feel free to correct me. Persona 1 and 2, they have some party members that reappear, so Keijo persona reappears in Persona 2, and it pretty much looks exactly the same, like it's not too much different. In Persona 2, Kirishima's persona, Nike, gets a pretty big design difference from the Persona 1 and Persona 2 appearance. And the Persona 2 appearance looks way cooler in my opinion. The first one kind of just uses the more generic design of what you would think Nike would look like and how Nike looks like in other Persona games, but Persona 2 probably has some of my favorite looking personas because they kind of remind me more of Stans from JoJo. Also, the fact that this one is like a transformer looking thing with like a plane design is pretty cool. Same thing with Mayuzumi. She has a different one in Persona 1 and 2. And this is gonna sound controversial. I think I like the Persona 1 version just a little bit better. I think the Persona 2 version, it looks cool. I like the colors, but it's mainly just this big ass fucking wheel that kind of just throws me off of the whole design, in all honesty. Now, getting on to more of what I was actually talking about in the beginning is is Persona 2. Persona 2 is our first case of this, being Jun's persona Hermes, which, if you've played Persona 3, you know that Hermes is also Junpei's persona, and these two have a drastically different design. I'll get into which one I like more. I mean, if you know me, it's obvious which one I like more, but I'll get more into it when we go into the Persona 3 section of the video. But this is the first case of seeing two separate characters having the same exact persona, just off the same figure and everything, which is pretty interesting. And I think this might be one of the more rare and probably only cases of this happening. Unfortunately for Persona 2, that's pretty much as far as it goes with this concept. But I do want to mention Helios looks like Morgana, which is just kind of funny. I like Helios. I want this thing to come back. I don't know, it's just a goofy little fella. I like personas that are just like weird, kind of funny looking. However, technically in Persona 2 Sumi to Batsu, I think that's how you say it, this like Persona 2 spin-off manga. The main character of that, Kiba, has a persona that appears in Persona 1, and this persona is Yama. Next case is also pretty interesting. Mizu's persona is Archangel, which I think most SOT fans recognize as being like very early level persona that you usually get around like the teens in terms of level stats. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, you fight them in Persona 5 in Kamoshida's palace. But anyway, yeah, pretty recognizable persona, and actually interesting because I think this is one of the few times that like just a regular standard persona is actually a character's initial like starting persona. That usually doesn't happen. We usually just have like a special case, or it's usually pretty unique. And what I also mean by this, I'm counting things like Jack Frost, Pyro Jack, Pixie, like stuff like that usually isn't a main character's like beginning persona, you know what I mean? Have something usually unique or more interesting, for the better word. Like they don't just have a common persona that you could just find out normally. They usually have some special case with a unique design. Also, this is one of the first times in the Persona series that Archangel has had this specific design, first seen in Devil Summoner, because Archangel has had multiple different designs throughout multiple different SMT games, and Persona 3, 4, and 5, he has the, you know, the standard design that we're all used to. But in Persona 1 and 2, Archangel also makes an appearance, but it's completely different looking, and obviously I think that the one that we all know just looks better and fits the name more. This is what an Archangel would actually look like. Indra also makes an appearance as Kato's persona and appears in the actual Persona 1 and 2 games. Lastly, Bishimonten also appears in this Persona manga and is different in the games and the actual manga itself, with its Persona 1 appearance being the default design it usually has in every other game, and then getting a drastically different design in Persona 2, and then going back to normal, which, okay. 3 actually came in clutch with this video because I think it has the most instances of what we're actually talking about in this video. I already mentioned that Hermes appears in both Persona 2 and 3 as party member personas. And I do like the Persona 3 one just a bit more because honestly it's just biased because Persona 3 is my favorite. But I like how it kind of still looks like Hermes from Persona 2 a little bit. Like, they look like they could be the same guy, just slightly different. And I kind of like how the first one has, like, this, like, Halloween costume kind of appearance. Like, it feels like a guy in a costume. And I don't know, I kind of like it. I don't know. And I feel like if you wanted to cosplay Persona, this is probably one of the easier ones. We're also going to be talking about some of the evolved versions of Personas. This point forward, since Persona 3, 4, and 5 have them. Probably one of, if not the most famous example of this, of a persona being in the Persona series, but also being a party member persona with a different design, is probably Cerberus, because Cerberus has been around since, I'm pretty sure, the very first SMT game. Weirdly enough, for almost the entire series, it's had this lion design, like this white lion. And I never really liked this design. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty cool, but it's like, for Cerberus, it doesn't even have 3 heads, and it's not even a dog, so I don't know why. I guess they just wanted to mix things up a bit. I mean, it only makes sense for it in Persona 3 to look how it does, and the fact that it actually belongs to a dog makes perfect sense, and I don't know how they didn't think of this sooner. Although, I'm not really a biggest fan of Cerberus's design. I think it's a little too skinny for my liking. Like, I kind of want it to be more monstrous looking, and it never evolves, unfortunately. But to be fair, I don't even know what it would change, really. I do like the way it is anyway. Since Persona Nemesis actually appears in all 3 Persona games up to this point, although it having different designs completely, not just from Persona 1 to 2, even in the Persona 2 games, it has a different appearance. In P1, it has this like pretty standard looking human design, which I'm not the biggest fan of, it's just kind of generic. Persona 2 has this weird, I don't even know what these things are, like these little tiny things with balls on them. I have no clue what this is. And I think its best design is from Eternal Punishment. It has this like taller, like more actually like weird looking design with these 3 floating orbs around it. I think this is the best it's looked. And then the Persona 3 version, I'm not really a fan of. It just kind of looks weird. Like, I don't know why it's this like big like robot thing. And I mean, I guess that's kind of Ken's whole thing. His personas look like this, but I think the second one looks way better, but even that one I'm not too much of a fan of. At least the design stands out more. Now, before we get into the evolved personas, I want to talk about the spin-offs real quick. In Persona Trinity Soul, yeah, remember that weird Persona 3 anime? There's this persona called Astarte, I think. And it's like these like little pink blob looking things. And it actually has a different form in the anime itself too. Apparently this is Haru's persona in Persona 5, specifically the ultimate version. And I think the Persona 5 version of this thing is probably the best looking version. There's also Kronos, who's the persona of Zen in PQ. There's also Jun's persona in Persona 2, and it's the same exact design and everything. I also want to specify this is his evolved persona in Persona 2. The design of this thing is so cool looking, dude. Like, I mean, come on, look at it. Going back to Persona 3 with just the evolved personas, we have 2 more. Isis, which is Yukari's like evolved persona, is also in Persona 4 and 5 as a separate persona. The later games having a more traditional appearance. Same with Athena, which is Aegis's persona, and it makes sense because Athena is a very popular figure, and she basically looks how you would think Athena would look. Her design hasn't really changed from most of the games, having this like warrior appearance to it, except it's more humanoid, obviously, in the other games. It appeared in Persona 1 and 2 before Persona 3. Moving on to Persona 4, Yosuke's second persona, Susanoo. No, not that one, or that one. This one, which its design is wild compared to its appearance in Persona 3 and the other SMT games. I like both for different reasons. I like how out there the Persona 4 one is, and I like how creepy the Persona 3 one is. Favorite character kanji actually inspired this video. When I was playing Reload, I realized that Taka Minazuchi, his persona, was a Persona 3 persona that ended up being kanjis. And the original design has always basically just been an SMT, and it's just kind of this like red dude with a sword or some variation of it. But I like the kanji one way better because it's like this big skeleton robot with like a lightning bolt. I think most people can agree that this one is the cooler version. And now the games that this actually appeared in were Persona 1 and 3. They just skipped 2 for some reason. I guess they just weren't fucking with them. That's not it for Kanji. His ultimate persona also appears in other games. This guy only appearing in Persona 2 and has a way different design, while the other design pretty much is a extra add-on to like the original one. And I mean the Persona 4 one. The Persona 2 one is like this like knight looking dude. It kind of gives me Fear and Hunger vibes, low-key. Persona 4 Arena, my main Sho Minazuki, whose persona I really like, Tsukiyomi, also appears in a couple of Persona-related media. Most of popular appearance is obviously Persona 4 Arena, but he's also appeared in the Detective Naoto spin-off manga. It's by a completely different guy and has a different design. But he's also appeared in both Persona 2 games, and I kind of like his design in the SMT games, and also he's in SMT 5 as a boss. Finally wrapping this video up. We're going into Persona 5 now, and before you ask, I'm not doing Phantom X because there's a majillion, billion, trillion personas in that fucking game. And also half the ones I looked at on the SMT wiki have never appeared in any game before this, so I don't care. Persona 5, Ryuji's second persona, Satan Tensei, also known as Son Goku! It appears in every Persona game predating 5. Looks like how Sun Wukong looks in most depictions of him. The big old monkey. Top of second Persona, Prometheus, appears in Persona 2, and this design is way better than what we have in Persona 5. In Persona 5, it's just this ball, but in Persona 2, it's like this like dude coming out of like this like robot mech looking suit. Now, another heavy hitter is Loki, who's basically been a mainstay of the SMT series since the very first game. Like, he's in all of them, I'm almost certain that there's not a single game that doesn't have him. And yeah, he's been in Persona since Persona 1. He's more known for his, like, I guess modern design and design that kind of just stuck around with him in like this long hair and the purple outfit. Honestly, I think this is probably the best version of him, like from just like a Persona / Demon instance of like you being able to just use him. But I think honestly the best design is Persona 5's Black Mask Akechi. This is his persona. Probably now to most newer Persona fans what they think of when they think of this character. Now lastly, the final persona of this video, and probably one of the cooler ones to end off with, is Pandora, who also apparently is the final boss of Persona 1. Having two different forms, this like gnarly ass fucking like crazy, I don't even know what I'm looking at for him. Also this butterfly form, and then it also appears in Persona 5 as Sophie's evolved persona. Yeah, I think this one is probably the coolest because I think this is the first and only time we'll probably ever see a final boss become a usable persona. I guess if you want to be technical, I mean Magatsu Izanagi, but that's not like really the final boss, like if you want to be technical though. But yeah, that's basically going to be it for this video. This video is kind of long, I can already tell, but I just thought this topic was interesting because we don't really see it that much. Usually, unless you're like super into every facet of the series, you probably don't remember half of these being a thing. Some were obviously pretty obvious. Yeah, that's going to be it for this video, and Happy New Year, and see ya.